7 years ago now, in May of 2019, we purchased our 2015 Model S 85D that is now 11 years old. This Model S has enabled us to create many awesome memories on road trips all over the United States, many of which are videos here on our YouTube channel. However, since we purchased our Model Y in December of 2023, we now take our Model Y on road trips, and this Model S is our daily driver around town. At 11 years old, our Model S now has 151,303 miles on the odometer, 87,507 miles of which we put on it in the 7 years that we've owned it. I have made annual maintenance cost and battery degradation videos ever since we purchased it, and I'll put a card above to the playlist of all of those prior videos. Today's video is for recapping the costs of year 7 of ownership. Keep in mind, in this video, I don't cover the cost of insurance and registration, since that cost varies wildly depending on where you live and your insurance rates. Without further ado, let's get into the data. This is the spreadsheet that I've been using annually to keep track of all of the maintenance costs of our Model S, and so I'm going to gloss over that. If you want to see the details on those, then go watch the prior videos. These highlighted rows down here are from the last year. So you can see starting here in August of 2025, which keep in mind this 7th year began in May of 2025, I replaced the cabin air filter. That's a pretty easy thing to do, and it's $18, so it's not really worth much mentioning other than I did that. And then over here you can see we had a flat tire, and it was a slow leak, so we actually left it there for quite a few months. And then it started to get worse, and so I went ahead and just plugged it in my garage. So it was not like a roadside thing, an emergency on a road trip or anything like that. It's pretty tough, huh?
Lucy, you might need to be careful because it might let go and you'll bump your head.
Go ahead. Pull, Lucy.
Hey, step it back in, Liz.
You're letting all the air out. It's gonna be a flat tire.
That's hard.
Yeah, it is, huh? So that's a tool to make sure the hole is the right size, and then we have this device that we're going to be pushing in there, huh? Are you going to try to do that?
Yes.
All right, let's see it. We may need to ream the hole out a little bit more.
You mean get it bigger?
Yeah.
I want to, Lucy. I need to practice for my driver's license. I want to try twisting it around. Get some of this and rub it along there. Move.
So Lydia's putting some of this grease on so that it's easier to push it in. Hey, go Lydia. You can do it. I believe in you. Oh, look, you got it in, Lucy.
That was easy, Lucy.
It was not easy. You were grunting.
Yeah, Luz.
So now twist it back and forth. Yep.
Does it get bigger to there?
Nope, that's as big as it gets. Okay, so now, Lucy, see if you can pull it out.
That was easy. Hurry. Stop it, Lucy.
Something else we can do is heat this up, and it'll make it softer and easier to push in.
Okay.
Push hard, Lydia.
Lucy, take over.
It's starting. The Twizzler is bending slightly.
Lydia and Lucy. Mom said whoever plays out on the trampoline with me and James for 10 more minutes can make mommies.
Hey, kids, what are you wearing?
Costumes.
Halloween costumes?
No, we're fixing a tire right now. Well, then you don't get to make mommies or eat them. I have an idea.
Oh, you're going to push down?
Yes.
That's a good idea. I think you might not be strong enough, Lucy.
I'm not.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thanks for your help.
Guess I'm not ready for a driver's license.
You're not. Let me see if I can do it. I don't want to push it in too far. I'm going to check the hole. Here, I'm gonna put the jack down slightly so this doesn't move around. Okay, so you want to push it in far enough that there's some inside, but you don't want to pop it all the way through, right? So I think that's far enough. So then this plate right here is to push back on it and pull, so you don't pull it back out. There we go. So now we fill it up and put some water on it and see if it's bubbling at all. Interestingly, testing this, which it looks like it's patched, it really does illustrate well how the CrossClimate 2 tire channels the water straight down the middle of the tire. But yeah, looks like it's patched. So I'm going to cut off this excess on the outside, and I think we're good to go, but we'll keep monitoring the situation. A few months after that, here is when we decided to just get new tires on it because they were getting down to 330 seconds that the mileage warranty requires to get them replaced and be able to collect on the mileage warranty. And in case you didn't know, on Teslas, the mileage warranty is very important because these cars go through tires more quickly than standard cars, so you can usually collect on that mileage warranty, and it has a credit, right, that you can pay towards your next set of tires. So you can see here all of the tires were at 330 seconds, and then I went to Costco just to kind of do some cross shopping. I normally go with discount tire, and in this case I did, but I wanted to see what Costco was going to quote, and they quoted $1,260. That does not include the mileage warranty because I haven't got my tires through them. They don't have my history, so it would have been more difficult to work with them. And in Costco in general, I've generally found that it's more difficult to work with them because you have to go in and around into their store and interact with their tire people at the counter. And then anyway, I prefer discount tire. They're very quick and they have great customer service, at least at my place that I go to. And then Michelin had an $80 discount, and that applied at both stores, so that didn't really matter that Costco had that discount because discount tire did too. And then the mileage warranty from the prior tire is $402. Now if we move up here, you can see that the previous tires are the same exact tires that I bought this time, the Michelin CrossClimate 2 tires. I've been very happy with them. They have a 60,000 mile warranty, and you can see that those tires achieved 31,232 miles. So they got just over half of their warranty life. And that's why down here I got the discount of $402. And then that also they prorate the sales tax on the prior tires. So it's interesting how, you know, it's a good way to save money. So the final price paid was $968 for this new set of tires. And so I calculate that the cost per mile of the prior tires was 3.1 cents per mile on those tires and how much mileage they got, which I found that these tires, these CrossClimate 2 tires, have achieved the most mileage of any of my prior tires that I've had on this car. So I'm pretty happy with those. On the prior tires, the alignment looked okay, but the steering wheel was starting to be a little bit crooked to the left, and I had them check it at Discount Tire here. They were not able to do the alignment at Discount Tire, even though they can do alignments at the place that I go to. On Tesla specifically, they said, I can't remember which one it was maybe the camber, I think it was, that they don't do, at least on the back tires. So I said, okay, well, I'll just take it to Tesla. It's a little bit more expensive, and then they do all of the adjustments, so I'm okay with that. And that was $295 and $20 of which was taxes. If we come down here, this is now a summary of all prior maintenance. So you can see we've now spent, in the 7 years that we've owned the car, $5,601, and that's over 87,507 miles. And so on just tires alone, we have spent nearly $3,000. That's $2,992. And so maintenance costs over the 7 years that we've owned the car, including when we upgraded the MCU to version 2, which was a little bit of an optional situation, but the previous MCU 1 was not really working well, so it was nice to upgrade to fix the problems it had and get the new functionality of the new one. That was $1,800. So including the MCU 2 upgrade, it was 6 cents per mile of cost to over the time we've owned the car. Just miles on tires alone was 3 cents per mile. Now, if we look at this next line, cost of all regular maintenance except for the 12-volt battery, which in my case, I installed an aftermarket lithium-ion battery from Amu. So it's a little bit of a different situation that costs more. So I'm excluding that. And then also I'm excluding the MCU2 upgrade simply because that was a big ticket item that was maybe on the more optional side, although it did fix some problems that the MCU1 was having with not being able to navigate. So I excluded that though because it's a more optional. And so that was $2,202. And so the cost per mile of all maintenance, including everything on the prior line up here, is now 3 cents per mile. Now the reason why I'm calculating that is because on this next row, what I'm doing is applying that 3 cents per mile to the number of miles that the prior owner put on the car before we bought it, which if we look over here, you can see that the original miles was 63,796. And so looking down here, the prior owner spent $1,605, which means that the entire cost to operate our Model S over 11 years has been $7,207, rounding up there, including tires and all the maintenance except for the MCU2 upgrade. And so the estimated cost per mile to operate over those 11 years has been 5 cents per mile. Now, something else that you should consider in here is that this Model S has had free unlimited supercharging on it since it was made until we bought our Model Y, and then we transferred that feature over to our Model Y. But other than the distance that we drove from Las Vegas, where we picked up our Model Y back to Salt Lake City, Utah area, where we had to supercharge the Model S twice to get it home, we have not supercharged the Model S since. We've only charged it at home or where I work, or free sources basically. The cost of fueling or powering this car over its lifespan of 150,000 miles is zero, effectively, at least from supercharging. In our case, we've also never paid for charging from non-supercharger sources because, like at home, we have solar that has more than enough energy to power the car, and that solar has broken even on its installation cost. All of this documented in prior videos. So I'm kind of glossing quickly over that. I just wanted to point out that these are really the costs of operating the vehicle. The electricity costs have been, for us at least, zero. I use a service called Teslify that is an API data logger, and it keeps track of our activity and usage of our Model S. And I also use this in our Model Y. Now, I didn't sign up for this initially, so in May is when we bought the car, and in December that year is when I signed up for it, before we went on a big trip all the way out here to Orlando, Florida. So that trip is on here, but prior to that, we went out here to this area of Illinois and back, which I've made a video about, but that doesn't show up on this map. But it largely is this same route that you see here. So I'm going to make this full screen, and you can see these are all of the places that we've driven our Model S over the time that we've owned it. And so you can see we took it to Yellowstone, we went out to the Carter Ranch out here, we went up to Mount Rushmore and various other places in that region up there in South Dakota. We've driven it multiple times out here to visit family in Missouri and Nebraska, and we've driven it over to St. Louis and down in here to Tennessee and all the way out to Orlando, Florida, and many places in between all of those locations, and over here to Las Vegas, etc. And so it's worked well for us for all of that driving, but I did notice closer to the end when we bought the Model Y that the supercharging speeds were starting to slow down, and that was one reason why I decided to buy the Model Y to increase our charging speeds. Because as the batteries were aging, the superchargers were detecting how many fast supercharging sessions they've had, and the BMS, the battery management system, was starting to slow down those charges, which is what they do to protect the batteries in the car. And so you can see up here we have had 9,200 drives, individual drives, and we've driven 71,000 miles according to Teslify here, and various other stats along here across all of that time. Now, what I can also do is go up here into charges, and I can go to the battery report. And here in this battery degradation report, you can see I'm going from 2019 when I signed up for the service and all the way through today, and it shows the battery degradation over that time frame. So we don't have it from new, but 270 miles is what it was rated, the miles it was rated to have when it was brand new. And so this is the first 63,000 miles of degradation. So when we first bought it, it was sitting at around 258 miles when we first started logging it here in Teslify. And then you can see over this, I'm going to just kind of mouse over through this, you can see it's just been trending downwards a little bit, and it started to level out actually really good. Closer here to more recently, it's just been kind of leveling out right there at around 150,000 miles. That's not to say it won't go down further, of course, in the future. This is basically the best estimate of the computer, the battery management system, whenever you fully charge the car, and then when you use the energy down to a pretty low state of charge, it helps to give the BMS a better estimate of how much energy is successfully being stored in that battery at that stage of its life. So if we scroll down here, you can see the custom range I have here of 270 miles, that its current range is 244 miles, and so it's lost 26 miles of range, and that's at 9.64% of battery degradation, which is really quite excellent in my opinion. I mean, at this rate of battery degradation, we'll be able to continue using the car probably until something else goes majorly wrong with it, but the battery degradation will not be the reason that we stop driving this car. And I would love for us to be able to keep this car long enough that our children can start to drive it, although that is still, I guess, 4 years away, so we'll see what happens in the next 4 years. But that's my plan at this point. And here at the top of the screen, you can see that the car is currently charging, and we still are daily charging the car from our travel trailer's solar panels. And I made a video about that, which I will link to in a card above and in the description below if you're curious to hear about that. But that we're still doing that on a regular basis, and that actually powers a lot of our driving in this car throughout the year. And this concludes our 7th year of ownership costs and the battery degradation report. I hope this has been helpful to see how well this battery is working for you. If you have any comments, feel free to post those in the comments below. And we don't do road trips in this car anymore, but our next video series will begin when we take our Model Y to the Florida Keys and back, and that's about a 7,100 mile road trip. And so if you're interested in seeing that video series, feel free to subscribe and you'll get notified automatically when those videos publish. With that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.